Welcome back to One I'm Not Podcasting. King of Podcasts here with you. The impact of the coronavirus with the Hollywood global film industry and movie theaters. I've been talking about this ad nauseum for weeks now, since the pandemic. And before I get into that, I want to make the point here. How interesting it is when it comes to all of the normal distractions we have every day and how it has changed so much since we got to this point. Really, I mean, you think about the fact of how we are in such interesting times right now and how we have really been kind of out of sorts. I mean, think about it like this. We're really not caring too much about what's been happening to, when it comes to the music industry. We don't have Broadway, we don't have movies, we don't have live concerts. Sports has been very limited, and with no interaction now, sports actually finally coming back, but really what's happening with sports that's really unfortunate is politicization. It's a lot of things, whether you like it or not. Do we need politics in our sports? We already knew the Hollywood stars already had their politics coming up front, and they were being much more vocal about it each and every year. Same thing you'd see for the award shows. But the thing is now with Hollywood, it's been shut down. And it's not truly gotten themselves picked back up. We're seeing now, when you look at game shows or talk shows or other shows, when it doesn't have that glitz and glamour of a nice television set with a live studio audience or an audience itself, or you're seeing non-studio shows and all these people doing broadcasting from their homes, whether it might be through a Cisco WebEx platform or it might be through Zoom or Skype, and it might have good audio, it might have good video, or it doesn't. We're starting to see everything exposed, and we're starting to see the people that if they're not sitting behind a desk with a nice suit or dress, very classily dressed and coiffed and make-upped with a teleprompter from in front of them, they're exposed for the lack of ability that they have, which is people like me in radio are taking advantage of this the situation, because I can go ahead and talk on for hours and hours about whatever there might be. Just give me some direction. I'll know where to go with it and just run. Blab my mouth away. That's my idea. And for us to not have some of those normal vices, it makes it tougher us to go ahead and cope with the pandemic, and to not be subjected to politics and to certain things that say, oh, well, we're all in this together. Remember, I complained about that a few months ago. Well, we're not seeing those commercials as much because I think people are just really tired of it. Nobody's responding to it. Marketing probably says, you know what, take these stories down. We don't need to be seeing 15, 18 people on a damn Zoom camera. Oh, look, we're doing all this stuff from home. There absolutely are people that are taking advantage of it, and they're doing that. Yeah, sure, you're having a lot of people buying Pelotons, and they're ordering food through Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub. Sure. And people are still sticking in their homes and being much more suitable to work from home or to have their kids go to school from home. Things like that. We're adjusting. And we're still acclimating to it. And it's not something that we're necessarily happy about. Like, I don't hear a lot of people complaining about it. But the thing is, we got to have some comforts, some things to help us feel like we're not just stuck and confined home. And so many things make us feel like we're confined. Like, you can still go outside. You can go exercise. You can go out and drive in your car and go do something. Maybe go to a restaurant here and there. You can go get your hair cut. Do you want to go out with a mask? Maybe not. But the thing is, at least we got a few things that are making us feel like a little more like comfort. One of the things I'm looking forward to myself are movies. I've said this for months now. So it looks like August 21st is the target date. But Hollywood is under a major scrutiny. First of all, what I've talked about on my Broadcasters podcast is the fact that there have been a lot of issues with the labor unions. Because we already knew Hollywood was going to have a standoff at some point, a possible strike, a labor strike, because of the fact that there are a bunch of deals that are going on, which I can go to another story about the latest going on with the labor unions, but I usually put that from my Broadcasters podcast. You can find it at broadcasterspodcast.com. I talk about it all the time. Well, either which way, when it comes to the movies, there has been very little production of movies of new content. Now, of course, movie studios and others, they were pushing back on the number of movies that were originally planned, so they're all pushing back their schedules. So the fact we didn't have any movies, we might have had some movies that might have made it on Netflix or on Amazon Prime or whatnot. A few things like that have come out because some of those studios already had them through whether Netflix Studios had a movie that was going to come out but for their own platform, or Amazon Studios actually had movies that were going to be pushed out through limited release or possible wide release and then go onto their platform after that. Well, the thing is, the theaters have had to kind of compromise a little bit. We know AMC Theater, I talked about on my Broadcasters podcast, that they have now allowed for a shortening of the window of time that AMC Theaters will allow a universally produced movie to be available for exhibition for the first 3 weeks it comes out. It'll be out in theaters. 3 weeks after that, Universal will be able to go and put it out on safe platforms like Amazon Prime or YouTube or what have you. Then they will be able to go and charge $19.99 for a 48-hour rental. So the idea will be you won't be able to buy the movie yet, but you'll be able to rent it from home. So will that be the advantage of people not to go to the theater? Will they want to watch it from home at a premium price like that? Well, they did that for Trolls World Tour, but that work for other movies? That's the idea. So anyway, end of the story, World Economic Forum talks about, can there be a fairy tale ending for Hollywood after COVID-19? So in the story, they say that since then, we already know that film production is still halted. Cinemas have been closed since March. Right now, as I record this, it will be almost 5 months to the date. That's where we're at. And we already know before the pandemic, streaming video on demand, or SVOD, was already having a huge impact on the industry. The pandemic is accelerating the ongoing transformation of movie production, distribution, and consumption. So here's what the story says. Global box office revenues last year were $42 billion. It contributed 1/3 of the estimated $136 billion in the value of worldwide movie production and distribution. Hollywood supports 2 million jobs, more than 2 million jobs, 400,000 American businesses. British film and TV make up 60 million euros each day to the UK economy. 60 million euros each day. Countries like China are taking bold steps to grow creative output too. So the content pipeline has been upended, halting film production and closing cinemas. Normality should resume. Production has restored in some countries, and the industry has adopted remote work protocols where possible. But the virus creates uncertainty. The biggest short-term risk continues to be consumers' dwindling confidence in physical venues. So we already know that the major movie theaters are going to be coming back. So they're coming back as mid or late August. AMC said mid or late August. They have not made a definitive date yet. Unhinged, the movie by Russell Crowe, which will be coming out August 21st. That'll be the first movie available. Regal Cinemas will be opening by August 21st. Other theaters are following the same suit. And Tenet will be the next big major movie, which will be available September 3rd, after it releases internationally August 26th. With that said, Regal will allow people into the cinemas, 30% capacity, or 50% capacity, I believe it is, and you'll be able to go ahead and you must wear a mask while you go into the lobby, the concession area, the restrooms, but then you'll be able to go ahead and sit down like a restaurant. If you're having, food or drink, you'll be able to go ahead and open your mask, be able to go ahead and consume. And if you're doing that, then you'll have no problem having a mask off throughout. That's the idea. So there has been a secular decline in film attendance, except for China, where audiences grew over 860% in the last decade. Most major markets are in retreat. Now, number of tickets sold in North America has barely changed since 1995. In the UK, admissions hovered around 170 million per year since 2005. And even in India, a production powerhouse, per capita cinema admissions fell in the last decade 32%. So people are not really interested in the Bollywood movies, I guess. This is likely not attributable to the movie-going experience. Most operators have invested in theaters, upgrading audiovisual technology, making seats more comfortable, and introducing consumer-friendly subscription offers like A-List, Movieplex, which, by the way, goodbye, Movieplex. Glad to know you. You created the subscription idea, and then Cinemia, and then others, and Regal's Crown. What is it? What do they call it? It's not the Crown Pass. I don't remember what Regal calls it, but yeah, their own movie pass that also gets Regal Unlimited. Regal Unlimited, that's correct. God, it's been 5 months, man. What do you expect from me? Anyways, so India demand is believed to be strong, but the country suffers from a relative dearth of screens. So India isn't a constraint on the supply side of new cinemas. There's a huge demand for theaters, which are able to offer a vast range of bespoke experiences to those looking for great family value and corporate entertainment. So the idea is, one of the things the theaters were dealing with at first was they needed to make their theaters much more pleasing and enjoyable. So in the last decade, the theaters have done better by improving the screens, the audio quality, going to HD, high definition sound, high definition video, having the seats go to leather, making them much more comfortable, making the concession experience much more enjoyable. And I've seen that in the last 20 years. There's been a big change from what the movies were like. Now, this also has led studios to prioritize releases for their own services, leading to a reduction in films shown in theaters. According to analyst Matthew Ball, 15 years ago, the big six studios, Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, 20th Century Fox, Paramount, Sony, Universal, released 20 to 25 major films. By 2019, they were releasing as few as 9. And you can see, we used to have multiple movies that were available to go ahead and catch on. Because remember, there was a time where you could go and find 3 or 4 or 5 new movies going on any given week. And that was a normal thing. Now we probably get 1, 2, maybe 3 widescreen releases and a number of limited releases that come out as well, which are hard to come by. Netflix, Amazon, and others acquire movies made outside of the big 6 studios, releasing them directly to consumers. They take into the direct-to-cable market, or the direct-to-video market that used to be back in the day. Now this is where it is. But the movies are much better quality in some cases, where the studios might make a movie that, if it's going to go direct-to-cable, direct-to-video, whatever, they're going to go right to Netflix, Amazon, because Netflix and Amazon will do a good job of marketing those movies to make them viable, no matter if they're shit or not. The apparent depletion of choice of theaters, in contrast to the wealth of content available to SVOD services. Because again, for some people, it might not be easy for you to be in a rural area and have to go and drive 30, 45 minutes to the movie theater to catch it on the big screen. Catch like a Marvel movie or a DC movie or whatever. Or a Fast 5 movie, whatever, Fast and Furious movie, whatever it might be. If content creators go direct to digital, they cut out the potential box office collections, and satellite rights as a massive source of revenue generation for the producers. In addition, film stars were made for the big screen experience. It's where they want their movies to be. Now, keep this in mind too, is that we used to have a thing too where